Is the Canon R5 II fast enough for wildlife photography? I was shooting ducks and swans on Sunday with the R5 Mark II, but I encountered a problem that prevented me from getting the shot. And it all has to do with speed. Does the R5 II move slower than a duck that's late for a meeting? Well, I'll let you decide in just a moment. But before we get to the details, please subscribe to this channel. It doesn't cost you anything, helps this channel grow, and keeps you up to date on the latest camera coverage. It's Sunday morning, it's already hot and humid. While it's only 71 degrees Fahrenheit or 22 degrees Celsius, it feels sticky, and it's going to get a lot hotter. So I grabbed the R5 Mark II and I went to the marsh, where I found this duck. Apparently he was having a late breakfast. Most of the time I was shooting between 300 to 500 millimeters on the Canon RF 100 to 500 millimeter. But then I heard a loud honking and immediately switched to photo mode to capture these trumpet swans. The R5 II did a great job keeping up with me, shooting at 30 frames per second RAW and JPEG until it didn't. I immediately realized my problem. I had brought my Angelbird 1TB AV Pro card. The AV Pro 1TB card has a top speed of 1.3 gigabytes per second, which is more than fast enough for the Mark I. But with the Mark II's 30 frames per second continuous shooting, doing both RAW and JPEG, well, apparently I kept my foot to the throttle a little bit too long. Now, I didn't hold down the R5 and just continuously shoot, holding down the shutter button for a full 5 or 7 or 10 seconds. I'm not exactly sure the amount of time, but it was probably somewhere around 7 seconds to the max of 15 seconds. Maybe it was a little bit longer. It's hard to really say because when you're in the moment, you're kind of focused there. I won't make that mistake again. Next time, I'll bring the Angelbird AV Pro XT card, a 660 gigabyte card that has a faster 1.48 sustained write speed. And I know what you're thinking, the AV Pro XT card with a 1.48 gigabyte per second sustained write speed versus the regular AV Pro with a 1.3 gigabytes per second write speed. That's only 180 megabytes per second. That's not huge. It's not enough to make a difference, is it? Well, it would have been enough to allow me to get the shot here of the swan's landing. And that 180 megabytes per second might have been just enough that between bursts, it could have bought me more time, a lot more time. The good news is that until the buffer's filled, the R5 Mark II can deliver a very high hit rate with very few out-of-focus shots. The biggest issue, as you can see, is this guy framing the shot properly. I know, all I needed to do was just zoom out a little bit and all would have been fine. But you're right, 180 megabytes per second isn't that much of a speed increase. As a wildlife photographer, you don't want to be thinking of range anxiety. You don't want to be thinking of, you know, should I hold down the shutter button now? Am I holding it down too long? Am I going to fill up the buffer? That's the last thing you want to deal with. I mean, you could go to an R3 or the R1 and have half the resolution and not have to worry about this in any way whatsoever, and also getting dual CF Express Type B card slots. But that brings me to the next thought, and that's the limitation of Gen 3 CF Express Type B cards. They have a theoretical limit of 2,000 megabytes per second, but as we can see in the marketplace, they don't really go past 1,500 megabytes per second. But the CF Express Association just approved Gen 4 last year, and the speed limit, well, it's been jacked up. And ProGrade has already released a card, though they are a little bit more pricey. And the really big problem is that right now, most cameras on the marketplace don't even recognize Gen 4. They don't support those higher speeds. So are you paying a premium for nothing? Well, let's take a look at the R5 Mark II. The manual says that it supports CF Express 2.0, of which both Gen 3 and Gen 4 are a part of. And VPG 400, well, all that means is that the cards are able to support, or the camera is able to support, a minimum speed of 400 megabytes per second. Yeah, so VPG 400 means absolutely nothing. And because we don't have any more details here, it's really hard to determine if the R5 Mark II could take advantage of Gen 4 cards, Gen 4 CF Express Type B cards. Because if it could, we could expect a maximum practical speed of 3.6 gigabytes per second, or 3,600 megabytes per second. And the good news is, if you do purchase a Gen 4 card, well, they're backwards try that again, they're backwards compatible. So the R5 Mark I, the Nikon Z6 Mark III, Z6 Mark II, any camera that supports CF Express Type B, if you take a Gen 4 card and put it in there, it will work. Now, in terms of the max theoretical speed of these cards inside a camera that doesn't support Gen 4, well, that's harder to work out. Remember, keep in mind this image here. Gen 3 cards have a maximum theoretical limit of 2,000 megabytes per second, and we can expect that cards could potentially push up to 1.8 megabytes per second. So even if the Canon EOS R5 Mark II can't take advantage of those Gen 4 specification speed limits up to around 3.6 gigabytes per second, if it could support Gen 3, could it not take advantage of the maximum theoretical speed limit of 2,000 megabytes per second, or 2 gigabytes per second, or even 1.9, 1.8, or 1.7 gigabytes per second? And that's the real question. And I know what you're thinking. Yes, Ryan, I get it. It makes perfect sense. What I need to do is to get a Gen 4 card and test it out. And right now, I think there's only one kit on the market that makes Gen 4 cards, and that's ProGrade. But you see, I have another problem right now. I just purchased the R5 Mark II, which this video is largely a part of. But I only have a single battery. This single LP E6P battery for power, I guess, price, I guess, I don't know, either one. I only have one. So every time I go out and shoot, or I shoot inside, I have to charge it up before I can go out again because I've got a single battery. The camera store that I purchased it from, they have the grip in place, but they don't have the batteries, they don't have the iCup and all those other things I ordered. So what I really need to focus on right now is the fundamentals, the basic. Get my camera, get all the batteries powered, get the grip, get everything, make sure all that stuff is covered, test it, talk about that stuff. And what I would suspect is probably around October some point is that's when I'll start testing with Gen 4 cards, Gen 4 cards, CF Express. Because at this point, I feel like well, there's a lot on my shot list, shall we say. And who knows, maybe by October, as we get closer to Black Friday, we'll see further discounts on Gen 4 cards. And I do hope that Angelbird's also working on a Gen 4 CF Express Type B card. Because what we saw when Angelbird entered the CF Express market back in, 2019, 2018, right around that time frame, CF Express Type B cards were very expensive, and today, thanks to Angelbird and constantly lowering the prices, such as the AV Pro SE cards, we can now get a 512 gigabyte card for $129, and that's its regular price. It does go on sale for under $100 at times. And then we have the 1 terabyte that's on sale right now for $199. I highly recommend them. Everything I use is Angelbird at this point, and I've never had a problem with one of their CF Express SD or micro SD cards actually failing on me. So a really good track record. But again, it goes back to how will a Gen 4 card function inside the R5 Mark II? We don't have any other information. Does it support Gen 4? And if that's the case, that 30 frames per second is going to be far more usable for us as sports and wildlife or fast action photographers. If it just supports Gen 3, well then the other question is, how much of that Gen 3 specification does it support? Does it support all the way up to that theoretical limit? And if so, a Gen 4 card can easily meet that. And that's the one thing that I'll have to wait and see to test with these cards. However, if you happen to have a Gen 4 card in the R5 Mark II, I'd love to hear from you. Put something in the comment section, but maybe reach out to me via my email. You can get that on the main page of my YouTube site, and reach out to me. Let me know what type of scenarios you're shooting, the differences between a Gen 4 and a Gen 3 card, because I'd like to know, but my viewers would also like to know as well. But a big thanks to all of you for watching to the very end of this video. And for those of you that actually pre-ordered and purchased the R5 Mark II, a big thanks. You're what's keeping this channel on the airwaves. I get very little money from YouTube ads. It all comes from orders, pre-orders, and all that sort of stuff. And what I like about this is that if you want to buy yourself something like a camera or anything else, an accessory, and you use my affiliate links or my pre-order links, it doesn't cost you anything extra, but this channel gets a small feedback from the retailer, and it's the best of both worlds, right? I'm not getting anything from you. Well, I'm not directly getting anything from you. You're not having to pay anything more, and I get a small commission back on the other side. So it's the best of both worlds. Anyhow, thank you so much for watching. Have yourself a great week. We'll see you again soon. I'm going to try to get out and do more shooting, but unfortunately now I'm back in the office 50% of the time. That means I can't get out and shoot during my lunch break. Where my office is, it's almost like a desert. Now it's in the middle of town, but there's parking lots. There's really not much to be able to shoot with. So my last location in office, it was great. I was 5 minutes away from a trail and I could grab wildlife. There was waterways, there was waterfalls. It was amazing. And there was this street that was like a 200-year-old street, and it was just very photogenic. Where I am right now, I've lost all of that. So I will still continue producing content. It just might be a little bit later, so by the time I get home, I'll script it, edit it, and it'll come out the following day. But thank you so much for tuning in. Have yourself a great day, a great week, and we'll see you again soon.